welcome to another episode of Catch of the Week. I am with one of my good friends, Jorge Carrasco. He's not only a good friend, but he's a very successful thought leader in the region about digital assets and blockchain. He's the managing director of FTI Consulting about blockchain and digital assets. As you can understand from the topic, it's one of the most trending topics globally now. And in my first episode, to be honest, I started with AI, but also it has a connection with digital assets. Before getting more deep in diving to the topics, can you introduce yourself a little bit? You know, when you meet someone in Dubai, they ask you 3 questions. Where are you from? What do you do? And how long you are in Dubai? But I don't like it.
Okay.
I say, what's your story? What brought you to Dubai?
Okay. Thank you, Ersoy, for having me today. It's a fierce competition against AI as a topic because it's everywhere now. But I will introduce myself. So my name is Jorge, and I came to Dubai around 9 years ago. But a bit before that, so I've always been passionate about technology. I studied telecommunications engineering, and then since then I was always trying to experience these new technologies and mainly and above all understanding what was their impact in our daily lives. So right after college I started being a programmer. Even my master thesis I developed a client server application for voice over IP. And this was the first time I realized that with the right technical knowledge and the right technical concepts, you could build a service that many people could use, and not necessarily relying on the incumbents or the big companies that are providing these services. And this is very related, I think, with what we are going to discuss today. Then after that, 2011 or so, I started my own tech blog, and it was focusing about that, about how technologies and new technologies and technologies for the future would transform our lives. And then I was discussing about virtual reality, about the impact of social networks. It was when so WhatsApp came in, and what was the impact in our daily communications and in the networks and things like that. So and fortunately, I've been always working around technology, emerging technologies, as a solution architect, as a product manager of technology products. So that is what brought me here to Dubai. In 2016, I moved to the national telco operator to provide technology services for government and companies. And if the audience remembers, around 2017, there was a hype around initial coin offerings, tokens that were released. By the way, when I started that blog in 2011, Ethereum was not even existing. So only Bitcoin had released back in 2008, and that was not existing. And it was around 2012 where I wrote my first article about Bitcoin, because it was a technology that, okay, everybody says that can disrupt the financial industry. What is this? How is different? How technology coming from few developers can transform the way we do banking, and then we exchange value. It was amazing, and I was always liking to explore and understand the technology concepts behind that. And then I discovered blockchain, and then it was there. So even I started mining some Bitcoin with my laptop back then, because it was possible at the time, not in the dimension that we are today. That's no longer possible. But then I parked it. And then coming back to the story of joining UAE and coming to the UAE, it was in 2017 with all these cryptocurrencies that I said, wait a second, this technology I know, I already wrote about that back in 2012. And then I reconnected with that, and then I made some studies, and then I get more deep into what was this crypto hype about, and what new projects came in, that in 2015 Ethereum came out. And then in my company I said, look, there is this technology that is still very new, it's still in very experimental phase, but I think we should look into that. And fortunately, there was a project around to work with banks in the space. And then this is where I could start my professional path on blockchain. Then I was touching base on many other technologies, but more and more I was realizing that blockchain was the most transformative one that I considered, and the one that I wanted to invest most of the time. And then I was in an internal conflict, because in my professional life, yes, I was touching blockchain a little bit, but I had to spend a lot of time in other technologies that I didn't I didn't think at that time that they were as relevant as blockchain. And it was in 2022 when I said, I need to fully devote my time on this, because this is moving very fast. If I cannot do it as a side job or as a hobby, and I already know something, I am already in some projects, I know few people in the area, and then I searched for an opportunity that brought me to be the person in charge of blockchain and digital assets for FTI in the Middle East.
Wow, such a nice story. Normally, as a host, I should like interrupt you and stop you, like, but I can feel your passion when somebody is telling about their career or their job. You can understand if they like it or not, and so maybe it's a lesson for the listeners. If you find a job that you love or you are passionate about, you can be like, Jorge. Okay, great. I mean, then you are one of the experts here. But when we talk about this technology, also I'm coming from financial background, and we use the term financial literacy. People don't know, or people are scared. Also, I think in technology we need some literacy. So first, can you just define, when you say digital assets, what should we understand? What is in this ecosystem? Can you first define this?
Yeah, I will try to demystify a little bit blockchain and digital assets. Digital assets is a very broad term, so let me start with blockchain. So blockchain, as the name says, is a way to structure information in a chain of blocks, right? So in a database, which is another way to structure the information, when you want to write an entry, you access the database with your credentials, and then you write something or modify something, right? In the blockchain, there is a network of nodes, so all of them, they are interconnected to share that database, that distributed database, let's say. And if you want to enter some information, you need to submit your transaction to the network, right? Then all those transactions are grouped into blocks. And then the different nodes or the different participants of the network, and this is something very important and into the blockchain technology and the frameworks, those participants are somehow competing to create that node and officially onboard it to the blockchain. Why is this, right? So this is created so that there are people incentivized to maintain the network. So those nodes are adding infrastructure and adding robustness, security, etc. to the network, and while doing so and competing to write those blocks and to add those blocks to the network, they get rewarded in some way. In some cases, there are new tokens that are issued. For example, every time that you add a block into the Bitcoin network, you receive certain Bitcoin rewards, right? That's why Bitcoin mining is so productive and profitable in some cases, when you have these mining rigs where you have competing power for adding those blocks into the network, you will get Bitcoin in return, and that's the business model somehow, right? In some other cases, it's people are paying transaction fees together with submitting that transaction, and those transaction fees are kept with the node or the participant that manages to add that block into the network. Now, how the chain is created, right? And how blockchains are so secure, tamper-proof, auditable, etc., etc. So, in every block, the way you construct the block, you have to add a reference to the last block that is already on the blockchain. How you do that? Adding the digital signature of that block. Digital signatures are or hashes in this case are these let's say cryptographic proof that the information is structured in a particular way. So for example, when you receive an encrypted file or a zip file or something like that, it has a hash. You can match that hash with the file to understand that the file has not been corrupted. So the same thing happened in the blockchain. So the hash of the previous block, if you compare it with the information, tells you that the network as such is not corrupted. So you add that hash to your block. And then you encrypt the whole set of information, the hash of the previous block with the information of the current block. So that hash of the new block already has the link to all the previous blocks because they are linked somehow. So if, for example, now I want to modify a transaction that I submitted 3 blocks ago, you will break the hash of that block. By breaking the hash of that block, you will break the hash of the next block, and so on and so forth. So the entire network will immediately know that something has happened and where has happened. That's why they are tamper-proof. Once you write something on a blockchain, you can amend and add more pieces of information on that particular asset, let's say, but you cannot tamper with it. So this is how blockchains work. Now, cryptocurrencies, which are a use case or are an example of how to use blockchain, they are simply submitting the transactions. Like Jorge has submitted $100 or 100 bitcoins or 1 bitcoin to Ersoy, right? So this is the information that I submit. So all those transactions on my wallet, on Ersoy's wallet, are recorded on the blockchain. So, and that is immutable. So nobody can dispute that at that point I have 1 Bitcoin less and you have 1 Bitcoin more, because that is immutable. And if someone tries to change it, everybody will realize.
Well, very interesting. Since you mentioned you are early like adopters of like cryptocurrencies, did you become rich now?
No, unfortunately. I like to experience and experiment the technology, understand how it works, but yeah, unfortunately, I didn't ride one of those big waves.
Okay. Recently, I mean, Trump, there's U.S. elections, and he mentioned he will make U.S. as a crypto hub again. I just want you to give some ideas about what's happening in UAE in digital assets, because UAE likes futuristic things, and they try to attract all the talent to the region, and lots of crypto exchanges open an office here. But in the meantime, also now US is trying to come back with Trump. I don't know if he wins. So can you give us an overall picture of how is it to be in UAE and also the global competition?
Yeah, for sure. So as I said, I came to Dubai around 2016, right? In 16-17, I started seeing some news of this company is doing this proof of concept with blockchain, or this other company is trying this technology. And then I realized that UAE was trying to take a forward-looking approach on this technology, and they launched the Dubai blockchain strategy and the UAE blockchain strategy. Both were strategies saying, okay, the government of Dubai or the government of UAE will use blockchain this much for meet these objectives. They were like creating efficiencies on the government processes, reducing the paper trail, digitalizing services, etc., relying on blockchain. So that journey of UAE didn't start overnight. So it started already 8-9 years ago, right? So with that, the Dubai government and the UAE government started like pushing and encouraging the different departments to understand the technology, to educate on it, to do some proofs of concept, right? Then in 2018 or 19, there was the first regulation, probably one of the first, if not the first of the world, around digital assets and virtual assets, which was in Abu Dhabi Global Markets with the Financial Services Regulatory Authority. That allowed for certain crypto businesses to start having a regulatory way, right? And the market started maturing bit by bit. Then we got another regulator in Dubai that is much more recent, 2022, the Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority. Then the other regulators were also doing their work, right? So that started positioning UAE as a place where companies were finding a regulatory framework to at least do things in a regulated way, in a certain and safe way, right? Because in other places they were developing their products, getting customers, etc., but with the uncertainty that at some point a regulator could come and say, this is not regulated, or you are doing something wrong, and there is a fine around that, etc. So actually the crypto businesses in the world are trying to get, most of them are trying to get places where they can do things in a regulated way. In the US, despite having some regulations and some states regulating about that, there has been a certain uncertainty about how things were going to be interpreted by the regulators. And in the US, traditionally, all the venture capitals and investment firms, Silicon Valley, they were there. So many crypto businesses started there, and they were growing from there. And even there are some companies that are trading in the stock markets there, but they are playing in this market where there is no as much certainty as maybe you have in other places at UAE. So what happened with that? That companies that wanted to have that certainty started looking around for places where this was happening. And this is what has been the magnet for many companies to come to the UAE and relocate here, or to open directly from here, or to put their headquarters here for their global operations, because they were operating in a place where at least there are some regulations around that.
So we mentioned about blockchain, cryptocurrencies, but there are other themes like Web3, real world assets, or NFTs. So can you name some of them, and what will we hear more in future, and maybe give some real life use cases that people can use in their life?
Yeah, there are many concepts that we might be hearing in the news or from the companies that are associated with blockchain. So NFTs, for example, NFTs are non-fungible tokens, are a type of tokens that are minted or reflected in a particular blockchain, right? And those represent the ownership or the link with one specific asset. Can be a digital asset, like an image or a piece of digital art, or can be a real world asset, like an actual painting or a building, for example. You can have an NFT associated with that, and this is one concept. Another concept, so there are also gamify or decentralized gaming and decentralized metaverses, where these games or these ecosystems are built on top of decentralized technologies. And why they are doing that? So that, for example, if you pay for a game item, for example, I have an avatar and I have a sword for that avatar because it's a fight game. So I literally own that sword. So it's not that something that is residing in the game. It's something that I directly own, that I can load into my wallet, and that game will recognize that as my item. And in the future, if there are other games that can recognize that, I truly bought that sword. It's not that I go to another game or to the same game in another platform and I to buy it again. No, I truly own it. So that's the concept behind games sitting on top of decentralized technologies. Other concepts are decentralized finance, or decentralized autonomous organizations that are companies or associations that are working as based on software, for example. So they code the rules based on which a new member is coming, how the different initiatives are proposed, how the different votes for those initiatives are going forward, how the treasury is managed. So imagine a company that, instead of having a hierarchical structure, is based on a network of participants, each and every one of them having a stake or a percentage of the company depending on how many tokens they have, and that gives them powers of suggesting new propositions of where the company or the association moves forward and how they vote for that. So there are multiple concepts that are relying on blockchain technology. Now, real examples or examples of companies or governments using blockchain, right? So here in the UAE, for example, we have a great example in the banking sector. So there are certain characteristics that make blockchain a good technology for depending which problems, right? So you need to have a network of participants that they want to search a trusted environment, right? That if they exchange information, they don't need a third party like a central bank or an escrow or something like that. And they want to have something that is auditable, etc. So what's the use case that the banks are doing here in the UAE? If a company or an individual wants to get credit against an invoice with a bank, so what could you do? You go to a bank and say, I have an invoice of some services but I need money to deliver those services, and the bank gives you money against that, right? If there is no connection between the banks, what is stopping you to go to another bank that is not talking with the first bank and say, I have this invoice, I need money to deliver my services, and you go to a third bank, and to a fourth bank, and to a fifth bank, right? And the banks are not talking to each other. So you could have 5 times, 10 times the money, and then commit fraud and do not return that money, right? That you could do that money. So what the banks did, how can we become part of the same network in which we can deposit trust, right? But we are not willing to share information between us because we don't have to release or disclose who are we financing or what are we financing, right? So they said, let's build a blockchain network. In this blockchain network, when that company or that individual sends me the invoice, I will upload to the blockchain network this invoice. This invoice will be processed in that network, and if there is the same invoice already in the network, because that individual or that company went to another bank already, I will receive a flag, a red flag. It will not tell me which bank, if it has been financed or not, is already a red flag. If with AI, there are some AI algorithms running there is some similarity with another invoice that is already in the network, there is another risk scoring coming to that. And with this, the banks currently are identifying that level of fraud that was existing in the network. And how this is contributing. So first of all, their risk scoring has changed. So they are more open to finance. The thresholds are lower because they have a better way to identify fraud. And the companies are getting more financing because they are not subject to the scrutiny for the case that they are committing fraud. Right? So this is a very good real use case that is affecting and impacting the whole economy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jorge, I mean, I have like a list of questions, but time flies, and I want to wrap it up in 4 minutes. Let's make it more fun. Now, Paris Olympics is continuing, and I know you're from Spain, and Spain is always successful in sports and basketball, tennis, whatever. Do we use any of these technologies in sports, and are you doing yourself any sports? Are you good at sports?
Yes, so I like to go out for running. That allows me to clear up my mind, and in some cases when I'm traveling, allows you to discover cities very well. And lately in UAE we have a very good golf infrastructure, which is also another way to go outdoors, enjoy some greenery, and then clear up your mind, right? So actually blockchain is also in sports as well. Blockchain is a good technology, or coin offerings and token offerings are a good way to get financing in a gamified way. So there are football clubs, for example, that are tokenizing part of their value, and then allowing fans to football fans or club fans to be part of the ownership of that club. So they get a 0.000, but then they get that token ownership, and with that token ownership, they become part of an exclusive community of those football fans that decide or that have preferential entry to encounters with the players, or that can vote if the club does this activity or this other activity, and that is creating a lot of community engagement.
Interesting. Okay, I'll try not to give investment advice, but digital assets or cryptocurrencies are becoming mainstream. So what's your recommendation? I mean, should people put at least some part of their portfolio in digital assets or cryptocurrencies?
So again, as you said, this is not about giving investment advice, right? But what I can say is that thanks to tokenization, there are so many illiquid assets or illiquid businesses that have found a way to offer those investment opportunities to the average customer. So real estate tokenization is one example of that. So maybe you don't have enough money to buy a house, but you want to invest in properties on a particular area. So there are companies that are tokenizing the properties in that particular area, and with 1,000th or 100th of the price of that, you can participate of that. And so I think that thanks to digital assets and blockchain, we will have access to many more opportunities for investment. And I will finish with this. So in order to invest in cryptocurrencies, it's true that historically has been difficult because you need to create an account in an exchange, have your own wallet if you want to custody your own assets, etc. But now the financial industry is also moving into accepting cryptocurrencies into asset classes, and this is where we saw this year the approval of the Bitcoin ETFs and the Ethereum ETFs, and there are more ETFs coming up that are a way where you get direct exposure because you buy those financial instruments that are directly one-to-one collateralized with cryptocurrency. So it's giving a way to traditional investors to get access to it.
I generally finish my episode with one word or one sentence from you because the name is Catch of the Week. Yeah. What did we catch today? Also, do you like fishing? It's just one sentence.
I like nature.
You like nature, yeah. Okay. If you want to say, what did we catch? Did we catch blockchain, Bitcoin, or whatever? What's your closing headline?
Creation of value.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Jorge. Great having you.
Thank you, Ersoy. Happy to be here. Thank you.